Hello, biology class. Today we're going to go over the results of lab 18 and 19 that we did in class today. Some of these questions you probably already have answered because we did some in class, but we'll go over them real quick anyway. Why is it easy to break the peanut in half but not easy to break the corn kernel in half? Well, I brought popcorn, so we would have had to saw that in half. But even in a regular corn, since it's a monocot, it only has one cotyledon, so it doesn't break in half very easily. The peanut is a dicot, or a dicotyledon, has two cotyledons, and they separate easily. What's in between those is the embryo. What will the embryo become? It becomes the baby plant. Number 3, we drew the leaf venation, which is the arrangement of the veins, and our leaves don't look at all like these. We had 2 broadleaves. The monocot leaf was the Alstroemeria, which is actually also called a Peruvian lily or a lily of the Incas. And it had the parallel veining all the way through it. And then our other leaf, our dicot leaf, was lamb's ear. And it had the central line or the central vein, but then everything branched out, so it was branching to show us that it was a dicot. Number 4, they wanted us to compare the leaves, describe how they differ, and the basic message you want on there is the monocot leaf has parallel lines, and the dicot leaf has a webbed or netted look, and I'll give you the entire paragraph here in case you want to write that in. The venation of the leaf on the monocot looks like many parallel lines running from the tip of the leaf and downward. The venation of the dicot leaf has a few main vein branches with more veins branching from them. It looks webbed or netted. So that was page 88. Page 89 was drawing the roots of the monocot and dicot. I used that was a daylily for the dicot root. It had the tap root, and ours did not have the root hairs coming off. Ours had them coming off up here only and didn't have these. But our monocot root was very branched like this, so it did look like that. The monocot root was the lamb's ear. So this was a daylily, and this was a lamb's ear. Okay. Number 6. Do the roots look similar or different? Well, they look different. What does the root of the monocot look like? It looks like a carrot, or it has a tap root. What does the root of the dicot look like? It looks branched. How do they differ? And I'll just give you what the wording they have on here if you want it. They look different. The root of the monocot has one big root with tiny root hairs coming out of it. The root of the dicot has many branching roots coming from the bottom of the stem. We drew the stems. These were the stems that we placed in the red dye, if you remember. This one was a celery, and this one was the Alstroemeria. Alstroemeria. And that's pretty much what they look like. The random pattern and then the cylindrical pattern around the edge. That was page 89 in your book. Page 90. Observe the monocot and dicot stems. Are there any differences in the patterns of the dark spots of the stems? Describe how they look. We already talked about that. The dark spots in the monocot stem are spread randomly around the stem, and in the dicot, they are arranged in a circle around the circumference of the stem. 9a, how many petals were there on our flower? Our monocot had 3. How many petals on the dicot flower? We did not have a dicot flower, but if we did, it should be in multiples of 4 or 5. And are these numbers consistent with the background of this lab? If we have identified them properly, they should be. So that's page 90. Page And that's the end of Lab 18. Lab 19, here we go. On page 9, it starts on page 93, the results page on that. 19 was the flower dissection. Number 1, draw the pollen under high power. Now remember, this is an example of good size lily, like a regular size lily. Ours looked like this. And again, ours was the Alstroemeria, and you know, it was a lot smaller than a regular lily. Describe the pollen grains. They look like little small circles, but that's what they say also. They look like many small spheres. Number 3, draw and label the stamen and pistil. Include and label the anthem and filament on the stamen, and include the label stigma, style, and ovary on the pistil. So here's their picture of the stamen that looked a lot like ours, and here's the picture of the ovary. And here is your, what do they want us to label? Here is your anther, which of course this is not going to be correct the way you're supposed to label, but I'll save time. Here's your filament, is the stem part. Here is your stigma, where the pollen needs to land. Here's your style, which is the outside covering. And here is your, do I want the ovary? Yeah, there it is. Here is the ovary down here. Okay. Page 93. That's the end of page 93. Page 94 continues with questions. Number 4. How many petals were there on your flower? It was 3, and it was a monocot. Is the stamen, number 5, is the stamen the male or female part of the flower, and how many stamen were there on your flower? The stamen is the male part of the flower, and there were 3. What are the 2 parts of the stamen? The anther and the filament. I think 3 or 6. We had some with 6. Number 7, where is the pollen located? The pollen is on the anther, which is the end part of the stamen. Number 8 is the pistil, the male or female part of the flower, and how many pistils were there on the flower. The pistil is the female part, and there were only 1. There's only 1. And number 9, name the structures that make up the pistil, the stamen, the style, the ovary, and ovules make up the pistil. Number 10, which part of the pistil becomes the seeds and which part of the pistil becomes the fruit? The ovules become the seeds, they're like the eggs, and then the ovary becomes the fruit. That's page 94. And I believe that finishes up Lab 19. Your homework is to read Labs 20 and 21 and to watch that video about, it's got another dissection of a lily, but it's a big lily, so you can see very clearly all the different parts. All right, have a great week. I'll see you guys Monday.